Hey, it's Film Rich and welcome back to the channel. Today we're recapping episode 2 of The Punisher, which is titled Two Dead Men. This deepens Frank's connection to Micro, sets up the investigation into Ahmed Zubair's murder, and shows how the past is catching up with everyone involved. It's getting us hooked into the story of season 1, which only picks up more and more as we recap more of the episodes. Be sure to hit the like, share and subscribe button if you haven't already. Without further ado, let's get into it. We open with Frank riding the Circle Line ferry in New York. As the boat passes the Statue of Liberty, Frank flashes back to a happier time on the ferry with his kids. But even that memory has an edge. He recalls scolding Frank Jr. after his son made a remark about him fighting overseas just to kill Hajis. It's a reminder that Frank's war followed him home long before his family's death. Later, Frank eats at a diner in Queens, reading the New York Bulletin. Karen Page's byline catches his attention. She's reported on the Ganucci massacre in the crime section. Before he can fully process it, the diner phone rings. The waitress hands it to him and it's Micro on the other end. Micro proposes a parlay, but only if Frank views a videotape he left behind. When Frank rushes outside, he spots what looks like a vantage point where Micro might be watching. Micro isn't there, just a burner phone left on a rooftop, while Micro himself is perched on the diner roof, keeping tabs. That night, Frank has another nightmare of a masked Marine executing Maria. Shaken awake, he puts the CD Micro left into his computer. What he sees rattles him. A video of masked Marines surrounding Ahmed Zubair while a CIA official tortures him. When ordered to execute Zubair, Frank himself steps forward and fires the shot. Watching the footage leaves him trembling. The next day, he asks Curtis if he's slipped word about Frank being alive or if anyone else knows Micro. Kurt insists he hasn't. Meanwhile, Dina Medani and her partner Sam Stein walk through the 9/11 memorial, reflecting on the war on terror and its fallout. The talk turns to Ahmed Zubair. Dina reveals she once had a video proving US Marines tortured and executed him, but it was stolen in Kandahar. She suspects powerful people want the case buried, and that Wolf has orders to keep her away from it. But she's found a new lead, Billy Russo, Frank's old friend who now runs a private military firm called Anvil. Under the pretense of seeking training, she convinces Wolf to let her pay Russo a visit. Frank reaches out to Karen Page by disguising himself as a homeless man on the street. She's startled when she recognizes him, especially since the last time they met, things ended badly. He follows her back to her apartment where she notices she's set up a shrine to Matt Murdock since his apparent death. Frank tells her about Micro, asks if she's ever told anyone he was alive, and gets her to promise to look into Micro's background. Before he leaves, Karen hugs him, relieved to see someone familiar again. Back at the Bulletin, Karen digs for information on Micro. Editor-in-Chief Ellison remembers the name a hacker accused of selling government secrets supposedly killing resisting arrest. He admits he spiked the story after a DHS agent Carson Wolf intervened, saying publication would jeopardize cases. Ellison still has a copy of the article but only agrees to give it to Karen if she drops the attitude. Elsewhere, Micro sits alone in his hidden den, watching his wife and kids on surveillance cameras. He can't be with them, so he monitors them from afar, and keeps an eye out for Frank on his feeds. Dina and Sam head to Anvil for a simulated hostage rescue. Sam makes mistakes, but Dina reassures him no operation is ever perfect. They're introduced to Billy Russo, who pitches Anvil as a contractor for government work. Dina subtly probes Russo for more information about Kandahar, but Wolf quickly intervenes. Russo, however, offers to meet Dina later, off the record. Karen later places flowers on her window, the agreed signal to meet Frank. They talk on a park bench at a Grand Ferry Park. She shares what Ellison gave her, Micro's real name, David Lieberman, and his home address. Karen warns Frank she'll only help if he promises not to kill. Frank goes to David's home and deliberately steps in front of Sarah Lieberman's car. She insists on patching him up inside, unaware of who he is. Frank and Sarah bond briefly over shared loss. Outside, David watches him from his car, panicked and armed, as Frank quietly disables the burner phone David once gave him. Back at his apartment, Frank shaves his head, shedding his low-profile look. donning a ski mask, he breaks into Carson Wolf's upscale home via the chimney. When Wolf arrives, Frank ambushes him and a brutal fight ensues. Frank ties him into a chair and defends information. Wolf taunts him, insisting torture doesn't work, but he slips, admitting David Lieberman has branded a traitor and killed resisting arrest. Eventually, Wolf tries himself and gains the upper hand, pulling Frank's mask off. Recognizing him, Wolf gloats that Frank has exposed himself and he aims Frank's own gun at him only to find it empty. Frank seizes the moment, attacks and snaps Wolf's neck. That night, Dina meets Russo for drinks. Russo recalls his combat days with Frank, even admitting he enjoyed his kills in Afghanistan. Their conversation is cut short when Dina is called to investigate Wolf's sudden death. The next morning, Micro calls Frank again, amused by his ability to stay hidden. Frank decides to flush him out. With Curtis's help, he sends Micro on a chase around the city that ends at Mount Zion Cemetery. There, Micro finds his own grave marker. Curtis delivers Frank a message. Frank doesn't want Micro's help, but if Frank harms Curtis, Frank will go after his family. Believing he's been rejected, Micro drives off, not realizing Frank was stowed away in his trunk. Back at Micro's den, Frank knocks him out, and finally bringing them face to face. And that's episode 2, Two Dead Men. We see Frank uncover the truth about Ahmed Zubair's murder, Karen and Curtis drawn deeper into his world, and Micro pulled out of hiding. With Wolf dead and Russo back in the mix, the board is set for the conflict ahead. Thanks for watching and join us next time as we continue our journey through The Punisher.